Welcome to Let's Talk Real Estate for Older Adults. I am Hilary Walker, the Seniors Real Estate Specialist at Atlanta Seniors Real Estate LLC. Where real estate is more than property, it's about the people. We specialize in working with people who are baby boomers and empty nesters, and you are listening to the podcast that talks about the many issues, challenges, tips and tricks that we come across when working with people over the age of 50. A quick disclaimer for you. We are realtors designated through the National Association of Realtors. We do not intend to give legal, medical, or financial advice outside of the scope of real estate, and any information we do discuss here, it's from our experience of working in such situations, and there'll be many. But we suggest that you gather professional advice as and when needed. So, let's jump into today's discussion. Today's guest is Kristen Walker. No relation, but Kristen Walker.
Hello, Hilary.
How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Tell our listeners, where are you?
Yes, I am outside Ann Arbor, Michigan, where we typically don't have very good springs. You know, we kind of slam into summer. So now we have a small window of 70 and sunny, which is amazing. I'm going to walk the dogs after our podcast here today.
Wonderful. What I love about spring the most is the new growth, the new birth, the flowers, the color.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Everything is blooming. The bunnies are out. The birds are singing, all the things, right? You just have to take it all in. Granted, you might be taking in some allergy and pollen at the same time, right? Atlanta knows this.
Oh, yes. So I really wanted to capture some of our story to share with our listeners, because we are Sandwich Sisters. The Sandwich Sisters are the sandwich generation women. There are men involved in this generation that do what we do as well, but for the most part, it seems to be women, or at least we talk about it more. But as the sandwich generation is going through that stage of taking care of their children as well as their parents, it's a tough journey. It's challenging a lot of the times. And so we share something in our journeys because of that. So today, I'm hoping that you will bless us with conversations of the struggle, the challenge, the hope, the great parts, the funny parts from that journey. So let's jump in and talk about this. It's the long distance caregiving struggle is what you were doing for quite some time, which I am still doing. But take me back on your journey. Mom happened to be in Atlanta and you're in a completely different state. How did that come about?
I was living outside of Atlanta and we needed to come back home to Michigan because my husband had to help take care of his parents. His brother was moving out of the country and there would be no one. So we had no choice but to move back. Okay. Well, in the process of coming back to Michigan, Mom was still living outside of Atlanta in her own home, right? And she had my sister nearby and it was, going okay. But then my sister moved 2 hours north of Atlanta. So it was going to become even more problematic for my mom. And I was concerned and felt pretty badly about the situation. Like everyone kind of up and left her. And she had just came out of COVID and was meeting neighbors and started to have a good time. And then my sister moved and we had previously moved. And it was like, all right, this is still a little concerning for Mom, even though, life was returning back to normal. Her new normal was going to be no one nearby to help her if she needed help. No one to take her to an appointment, or if she had a surgery that required a driver, no family member is there. And so that was really concerning. And so we had to have some serious discussions about what does this future look like and how can we really serve you best? We probably need to be in the same state. So her moving up 2 hours north to where my sister is wasn't really her favorite option. She's more of a city girl. And my sister travels phenomenally for work. So it really wouldn't have solved the problem anyway. Right. So ultimately we knew, we weren't going back to Georgia anytime soon. I mean, maybe someday in retirement we'll get to do that permanently. But right now we're in the midst of extreme caregiving. And so we really needed Mom to warm up to the idea of coming back to Michigan after having just moved 2 years prior.
We'll talk about that journey a little bit more as we go along, but so in those 2 years, you were flying back and forth, back and forth.
Yes. Right. So she was coming up, we were going down, we were doing visits whenever we could. I think we had to live it for a little bit to where she saw that, well, this isn't ideal. Like, I don't have family nearby. I'm going to need more help, not less. And there's still time to make memories together, but you really can't do it if you're 12 hours in a car away. It just became apparent that we had to make a change.
And she was involved in that decision making.
Of course, I definitely did not want to have someone coming back kicking and screaming, right? And I made that very clear. She was still an adult. She could make her choices. My recommendation would be to come back near us. Yes, moving is awful, and we would help facilitate that. But we want to look at what does it present for all of us as a family. So it wasn't an easy sell. It took months and months, to be honest with you.
So during those months, did you have moments of, like, silly moments where it's like you spoke to her, she said something or something crazy happened and you went, I need to get a flight? Did you have those moments where I just got to get there?
Yes. I mean, any moment where she really is not feeling well, not answering the phone repeatedly.
Yes.
I don't have the neighbor's phone number. What are we going to do? Right. So you go to this anxiety point of,
yes.
How am I feel so out of control. And by the time I get her, she's like, I'm fine. I'm outside. It's hot. I'm relaxing. I'm doing my gardening. And you're like, okay, all right, good.
You and me both.
So
I had those moments. And of course, my mom's in England. So I always call her on a Sunday. If I call her on a Sunday, now I might call her during the week for other things, but it's not my urgent thing is Sunday. If I call her on Sunday when I know she's finished church, she should be at home, and she doesn't answer the phone, or we finally got her to do WhatsApp. If she doesn't answer WhatsApp or her home phone, then I'm like, let me call my brother. And I hate to bother my brother because he is the caregiver who's on site. He's right there in the city with her. And so he's doing everything all the time. But I hate to do that. So I might just put a little message in our family chat and say, has anyone spoken to Mum today? Because I'm trying not to make them nervous or anything. But I'm here going, okay, I hope she's all right. I hope she hasn't fallen. I hope, all these things.
Yeah.
And I've been steps away from booking a flight just because I've heard she's fallen again or something's happened. So I'm totally with you on that. And I asked that question because I know, but I think this is common, is that's part of what raises our anxiety as we deal with, our family dynamics and work included in all of that. So you've had the moments of heading down there.
Yes, for sure. And I don't know how you do it with such a time change as well. I think that's an added layer of stress that you have to manage. Luckily, Detroit and Atlanta are on the same time zone, but still, the distance is the distance. I couldn't get there very quickly. Even if I ran to the airport right now, we're at least probably 4 to 6 hours before I could get there. And that's just really hard. But even when they're doing well, I thought it was sometimes hard because you want to be together as often as you can while they're well, right? And that became a factor.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a big deal in terms of making that decision for you. Did you ever, at any time, kind of go, I wonder if there's a way I can move her in with me, or did you get a reality check as soon as you said it to yourself?
Well, yes and no. So I feel like right now that would have been too soon. Okay, she's very independent, and I think we'd be tripping over each other a little bit, right? Now, I thought it was going to happen because the housing market is so difficult, right? And so I thought, well, that could happen. She didn't want it to happen. She said, I'm not coming unless there's a house that you can find, because otherwise I don't want to put my stuff in storage and have to move it again. And I don't like to be in the way of staying with you, that kind of thing. So we started going on a house hunt. Now, to answer your question, though, I do think someday we probably would be together. Maybe if I can care for her, if it's not outside of my realm, then I'm okay with that. I do wish there was more homes that had like in-law quarters and they were designed for multi-generational families. I wish that was easier to find, under $1 million. I mean, come on. I don't know why this isn't more affordable for people, but yeah, I think it could happen in the future, but time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. Mm. The world is playing catch up when it comes to baby boomers and seniors. And they really didn't prepare in advance for this level of the amount of elderly people that were going to have housing, or even this whole, multi-generational homes, which some builders are building. And they have been building for quite some time. It just depends on which state you're in or city you're in, really. I remember out in Arizona, 2008, 2009, they were building these casitas, basically a little unit outside of your home, which is self-contained for a granny flat. I don't recall seeing that much here in Atlanta. It's not the style of home that they build down here.
Right.
But what they have been building is 2-story homes with a complete primary suite on the first floor. And so you have that section of the home that is for mom and dad. And then you have the primary suite upstairs as well, which is for you, and then the other bedrooms for your family. So we've seen a lot more of that. So it just depends on the style of home you like and where you are. But we do know that it's happening, but not at the scale that it needs to. So you are still right, is to bring those groups of families together and to make it affordable. And affordable is, what is that? It's different for every person.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes, I agree. You almost need this builder to get this plot of land and build most of the homes adaptable for multi-generations. Yeah. Everyone goes crazy and buys them, and then they start seeing that it catches on. But here in Michigan, it's very hard to find like we call it a mother-in-law suite, where it's like that separate type of room or unit attached. You tend to see maybe 2 masters, where there's one on that first level and then maybe on the second. Or a lot of people will finish a basement that has a walkout, but you're still way up there in costs if you can build something like that. And such a premium right now. It's absolutely insane.
Absolutely. So tell us about then that move. I mean, you talked about the conversation already, which you had with your mother. So she was fully engaged in making the decisions. It wasn't a tug of war between you, which a lot of families, unfortunately, especially what I've seen in my experience, they are in a tug of war with their parents because they absolutely want their parents to be closer to them. And like you, they have a job or something that they have to stay in that particular city or state. Yeah. And so the challenge is finding a way to get their parent out there. And the parent's like, I've lived here for 25 years or however long it is, and I like it here. I don't want to go anywhere. But yet their lifestyle. And this is what's most important, and I talk to my clients about it. The less independence you have, the more likely your lifestyle will deteriorate, which unfortunately also means that your health might deteriorate along with that lifestyle. So do you want to stay in that position of being stubborn and saying, no, I'm not going to move at all, or being open to see if there are some options to take? In your case, you've had good conversations with your mother, and were your sister, was your sister involved as well?
Yeah, as much as she could be. Yes. Right. She, had to work through it with my sister as far as, initially I think she wanted her to stay in Georgia. And I understand that. I get that. Right. So I definitely was sensitive to that situation. But once, she realized, I think that she travels so much, it's really prohibitive for her to offer future care. And with her blessing, we were also then able to start being a little bit more assertive about finding a house. Mom really responded well when we found a house. We were able to secure the house, and she could see where she's going. She didn't really want to come stay with us, which I understand. At the time, we had kids living here. Okay, so basically 3 adults.
Wow.
3 adults, 2 dogs. I get it. I would be the same way, right? You're just like, okay, it's kind of busy and chaotic. I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'll probably be like what you described, maybe. Like, I've been in this house 25 years. I love it. We've done so much to it. We continue to do more. I can see where I'm like, I can't leave. This is where my kids learn to ride their bikes, right? Okay, we'll deal with that then.
Yeah. But prepare yourself.
Yes, right. So it's like, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, that'll be me.
Yeah.
But yeah, once we got the house, which was a horrible bidding war, and it was very aggressive, and I did not think we were going to get it, and we did. That seemed to be the game changer, because she saw it was a nice one. It's only like 2 miles away from me. We've never actually lived that close, even in Georgia. Okay. And so I think that was an incentive that I would be real close to help her as needed.
Was it the house that you were hoping it was, that we did some research on?
I believe so, because this one's a ranch.
Yep.
And we wanted to get this ranch not only for her now, but for us later.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm in a 2-story right now. It's all fine and well.
Oh, yeah.
But someday it might not be, right?
Yeah.
And so that future ranch with all the openness and that ease of access, you know, could be very appealing to us in, I don't know, 10, 15 years. Who knows? I mean, I already have a knee issue right now, maybe even sooner, right? Who knows? So that seemed to be a good investment for us for the future.
Okay.
So yeah, very lucky.
That's a great opportunity that you and your family had to make that investment and not have to worry about how much she could afford, and if she had to sell and move before she could actually buy anything, you know, all those things. And those are the issues that a lot of our friends, our SandwishSisters are going through, is like, how do we make this work? But that said, you also had to sell her home. And was that a challenge for her in any way, or even for you guys being so far?
It wasn't really fun to be far selling it. It wasn't always easy. The market was different than it is up here. It took a little bit longer in Georgia. We were a little surprised at that. It was a little stressful on Mom. And so I was hopeful to have a smooth process. And for the most part, it was. But moving in general, I think, is very stressful. It's very emotional. It's hard. And I was sensitive for that on her, as well as for us.
Right.
Because the chapter was closing. And we went down to Georgia with the hopes of these chapters that we didn't see the roads kind of going where they did. Now, granted, none of them were horrible. Things can be worse. And you're right. We were very lucky to be able to secure that house without the sale of the first one. I don't know how we would have done it otherwise. It's so aggressive here.
So you came to Georgia for the move itself. Did you come for closing, or because Mom was still in the house, right, up until closing?
Yes, she did. And it was apparently Georgia state law or something. I had to be there for the closing. They were not going to do anything virtually. I don't know if it was Georgia state law, if it was just those attorneys, just those realtors. I don't know, but I had to come down for the closing. And that was fine because we were packing and moving, but it was a lot. It was extremely hot. We did it ourselves. We needed to save the money. And really Mom was a little concerned about her things, there's a lot of instability at those moments. So she really was happy that we were going to be packing it, boxing it, putting it on the truck, and my husband was going to drive the truck.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and we did that down to Georgia, and we did that back. And then when we sold our house in Georgia, we did that ourselves. So I feel like we're professional movers.
Would you ever do that again?
You know what? Yes. I say never, right? I sort of live by the belief of life is filled with lots of chapters, right? And all the chapters are work, and they're emotional, and they're trying, but they're also really exciting. And you have to go through the tougher parts to get to the good juice. So yeah, we did it all ourselves, paid for it all ourselves. And it was hard. We got the kids involved in the moving.
My hat off to you.
Well, thank you. I mean, and of course, when you're moving, that's the day it's either a tornado or 110 degrees, okay? Especially in Georgia. So
So what did happen?
It was 110.
Oh my gosh.
We luckily were able to get everything in the truck and latch it, and then the storm came.
Oh.
So we had both,
Oh
right?
my
We had
God.
extreme heat and the tornadoes, and then driving north. But, you know, God was good. We made it.
Man, oh my gosh. So there's just twists and turns at every point, really, isn't there? And we call it Murphy's Law. Something crazy is going to happen.
Yeah.
But you made it through and just got going.
Well, we unpacked too, right, on the other side. And then, of course, because there was so much rain all the way, we had water damage.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a real bummer. But it's stuff. I mean, it was okay. But yes, not fun when you're taking out wet boxes and yeah, it is what it is. I mean, right? Nothing is easy typically.
Yeah.
But when I think back to move-in day, you know, she was happy. It was a good day. We had the kids and their kids' friends helping us. And, you know, you get some young people that can move boxes a lot easier than we can.
Faster.
Let's do it. Right? Paid them with food and a little bit of cash, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. So the move-in day worked out nice. And it might not have been move-in day, but the first few weeks after the move, were there moments where you're like, oh my gosh, because mom would say something like, where's that thing?
yeah, so there was some fears of things, you know, were damaged, things might be missing. Yes. And apparently on the way down to Georgia, we had a similar issue where she's like, there's this box missing. I don't know what happened. So yeah, it gets weird. And I think in the midst of packing and throwing out things and donating things, I think things just sort of happen and you think you packed it and kept it, but you didn't. So that's very stressful and chaotic. But no, I think once we moved her in, one of the challenges was this house is bigger. And so she didn't feel quite as cozy. She didn't quite feel as safe right away. She had to learn all the new sounds of the house, and it has more windows, and that felt a little bit more exposed. And so we had to kind of go through that. And this house has woods in the back, and she was used to having some traffic, which, you know, I guess was more predictable of what that was. And now we've got woods. And so it was just a very different vibe all the way. And so there was an adjustment period.
It's interesting, some of the things you just said, because generally we don't give thought to where the house is positioned necessarily. We think about the house. Is the house conducive to her needs? Is she going to be comfortable in that house because it has enough space or limited space so that she's not lost in that house? Right. But now you just spoke about the environment around the house and how that can hinder or help their getting settled, such as the noises, such as the traffic that might be moved, you know, because if there's forest behind her, now she can't see down there. And is there deer that's going to come charging at the house, right? Or is it like some spooky person who's going to come walking out of the woods? And so that brings on a different level of anxiety for her.
Yes, you're 100% correct. Another form of kind of anxiety for everybody is, you know, you move someone from a spot where they knew their neighbors and their neighbors were friends. I mean, where she was in Georgia, she had all ladies that they were all friends, all older ladies. It was a great little community, right?
Yeah.
And now she didn't know who they were.
Yeah.
And would she like them? Would they like her? Would they talk to her? Are they friendly? Are they the type that if you want to borrow a cup of sugar that they're going to answer the door and help you with that, or whatever it might be, right? So you're just like praying to God that it's another good community. The great news is, yes, it is.
Good.
Right now, they're all married couples. They're older, but they're older married couples.
Okay.
It'd be great if she could find another little lady group. It's got to take time, and she can work on that. But at least they were all very nice people, and they were very, you know, I think they were actually probably happy that she was in their generation, right? They're all baby boomers, as opposed to this young, you know, right? Louder family moves in with 5 dogs and everything else. Like, you know, I get it.
Yeah.
So Well, but at first, you're kind of like, well, let's see what this is about.
Right. So the community embraced her. So, in my business, I talk a lot about who is your mother's village where she currently is, and can we match that where they're going? And that's the piece that you've just mentioned, is it's not always possible, and we have to hope and pray that you can make that work. The good thing is that you're just down the road, literally minutes down the road. So for the time being, you were the village. You and the family, your husband, the kids, whoever was closest, was able to be the village until she expanded her new village.
Yes. Now, we're still probably the default, right? Family, that kind of thing. And that's completely fine. I love that. We can make memories. I'm good with that. I just hope that she can even make more friends this summer. And you just, and actually, she might have more than I do over here, because where I'm at, everybody's working, where they're more retired in her neighborhood. So hopefully they have more availability to, get together. So it takes time, I think, but hopefully it turns a good corner soon too.
Right. So it's not been a year yet. So does she call you often for little things?
Yeah.
I preface this because I know what my mom called my brother for. Right? So we've had a good giggle about things like that. So I'm curious if that happens with you too.
Yes. Oh, we get all sorts of calls. For when you mentioned deer a few minutes ago, she sent me pictures of 16 deer on her front lawn. Okay, that's a herd. And they were eating everything. And all her flowers gone.
Oh, yeah.
And she loves the gardening and the flowers, and she is so proud of it. And in Georgia, she had such beautiful blooms that she, never had in the north. We have flowers, but we don't have them as long as you all, right?
Yeah.
And so she loved that about being down south. And then she finally is trying to figure it out up here again. And bam, these creatures came in and just went to town. And I've never seen 16 deer. Honestly, in one yard, it's out of control. We might get one in our neighborhood every couple of years, right? And she has just like a whole herd.
But she's just down the road.
Yes, it's unbelievable. But she's got those woods behind her, so I assume they live back there. So I kind of felt bad that she can't do her flower thing.
Yeah.
Now she's got all these deer, and she takes pictures and she enjoys that, and we laugh about it. But I'm secretly bummed out that she can't do her flowers and she has to do them on like pots on her little deck there, and that's all we got.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. But, you just have to embrace each property. They're all different.
Absolutely.
And have to give her credit. Like at this point in her life, in her mid 70s, she's gone through a lot. She has managed a lot in society as a woman, as a single mom.
Yeah.
Like she's a survivor. She can do this. And she's done it again. And she's done a really great job. Yeah. Now, I'm certain when you get older, you like to coast, Life doesn't work that way. But she's done a very, very good job. I'm trying to make more efforts because I still have my life here. I'm trying to make more efforts to be like, oh, let's bring her over for dinner. Oh yeah, let's take grandma, right? Because I just get so used to my own routine and my work. And so we've had to adapt to these new dynamics a little bit, but it's gone really well. And I feel very thankful. And I just hope we have time because, as I see what my husband goes through with his parents, you just don't know how long we have to manage our parents or live with our parents or right, just whatever that looks like, that relationship as they're aging.
Yeah. And you said managing your parent. There's a phrase that I used a while ago now, and it keeps coming back to me, but it's parenting the parent. And you don't sound like you're in a position where you're parenting your parent, which is usually a definition of they are stubborn and they have become your teenage child again because they're in that space of, I know what I want, I know what I need, I hear what you say, but I really don't care what you say because I'm still going to do it my way. And all that time, it's putting that extra pressure on you to, or, us to be able to help in whatever the situation is. So many families go through where they're having to talk to their parent and to coax them into something. it sounds like you really don't have that. In fact, she's so independent right now that that's not a concern at all.
Yes, I agree. And maybe my use of the word managing sounds a little controlling or what have you. And I think as I reflect with my in-laws, there is more day-to-day managing, right? My mother-in-law is in memory care.
Yeah.
My father-in-law is in independent living, but with services. So we manage, and I do this like shell game of doctor appointments, dentist, and service providers and PT. Right? So you're doing all these things. I'm not yet there with my parents, which is a blessing. And maybe some of that comes from having a very independent mom who's very capable and strong-willed. And so that's a good thing. And I have that as well. So maybe I'll be able to fight off some of the dependency. But quite honestly, all it takes is a medical issue and it's game over.
That's
right.
That's right. He's healthy enough
so
right now.
Yeah. So it's hard not to think along those lines of what will my role be and how will I help manage their care and their day-to-day.
Right.
And that's a rabbit hole you can go down, that's for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Goodness, it is a rabbit hole for all aspects of this whole situation. But tell me, what's the favorite part of her being close by now?
You know, I think the favorite part is that we can still make memories. Yeah. I can see her multiple times a week, get hugs, right? Give a hug. I can bring over leftovers. I can bring over a meal. She comes over for a meal. Like, we can do these little things. You know, she'll go to Costco and pick me up something and bring it over. I mean, I love these little hits of, you know, physical and emotional touch, right, that we can do. And I'm definitely cognizant of what a blessing that is. And I don't want to sound dark, but again, we don't know how much time we have. So I'm trying to enjoy all of that, knowing, you know, that it doesn't last forever. So I try to really treasure that. And then with my kids moving out, I've had more time to be able to connect with her. I had more availability to connect. And we're actually planning a little trip on the west side of Michigan soon. I'd like to do more where we can do things while she's able, I'm able, we can go have some fun. Because, you know, again, we don't know. But yeah, I think that's the favorite part of having those moments. And I do like to help, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, just that flexibility.
You said something so beautiful. You said the little touches and moments that you get to have with her are the most important.
Yeah, those physical and emotional touches that we can have, right? And yes, we can do a lot over phone, and we do, right? Like you said, she'll call me up with something funny or silly request, but it's that pop in, give a hug. I can see her really light up. And I think as we get older, we are a little more isolated. Our tribe shrinks. Everyone's busy doing their own thing. And they really appreciate all of that.
That's awesome. I think that there's a lot that people go through. We can't capture it all in just a 30-minute conversation, but there's so many ups and downs throughout the whole process. And your conversation today feels like it's so doable. Right? It's so doable. I have to say, the way it's been presented, and I know that that's not what you've gone through, but if someone hasn't gone through these actual experiences yet, it will seem as though, okay, it's not too bad. We can get through it. We can get through it. But there are a ton of resources out there that could help people through it. And you probably have some insight because your husband's parents are going through some things. But do you feel like there are a range of other services that perhaps you didn't touch on because you didn't need to yet? Or you just figured it out along the way?
Well, I do think there's a ton I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know it all for sure. On the side with my in-laws, with having more intensive medical needs and support that's needed, I've learned a lot on that journey as well and been in touch with more resources, and they're extremely helpful. I think there's a lot that we can and should continue to learn. I do think it can get overwhelming, though, where if you don't know where to turn and you're in the moment of having to solve a problem, it can be very overwhelming and challenging. This is where I think our friendships can be really helpful and critical. So everyone in our generation is going through typically something related, or they've already been through it. I mean, there's a few of us that their parents are completely fine and independent and they're in Hawaii. Great. Okay, that's great. I think at my age, the majority of my friend groups are in the similar boat, where they are handling some really hard stuff, both physically, emotionally, financially, all of it. Where are my parents going to live? How am I going to do this? I have to go to work. And by the way, I still have a couple kids at home. How does this look? And so I think leaning into that for support, for ideas, for local resources, for anything that you can learn and get your hands on is really important. You have to be vulnerable to share some of these things and to understand what they're going through as well. I think that's really critical though, because otherwise you are kind of going through some of this with blinders on until you've really experienced it. I mean, I don't know if you have any other ideas or suggestions on how to become well-versed and prepared in this, but I mean, none of us majored in, elder parenting 101.
Right. Of course, I called it the Boomer's Easy Move Blueprint. It is a list of things that will touch on a senior's life when they're transitioning in terms of having to downsize, resize, age in place even, or relocate. But that was something that I learned early on. So years ago, I was living in Arizona. My mother was living in Florida. She couldn't stay in the home that she was in anymore. And she was there to take care of her mother. So she had given up her life in England and said, yes, I will be the child that goes and takes care of my mother. My mom was already retired. So mom left England, went to America, stayed in Florida for about 10 years to take care of my grandmother until she passed. I was managing all of my mom's affairs in Florida from Arizona. Now, she was independent. She was able to get around and do what she had to do until she had a fall. She was in her 60s at that time. She had a fall, and it was an accident at a bus stop, or she was getting off of a bus or something. But of course, here she is. I'm miles away, trying to figure out what do we do. And mom's care became almost overwhelming, certainly for me, because I'm here in America, so it's kind of like, well, Hillary's close by. No, Arizona to Florida, that is not close.
No.
I think it was a 4 or 5 hour flight. And I had to drive for an hour to Phoenix from Tucson, Arizona, get the flight that would be direct to where I needed to go, and then drive from there. Yeah. So it's really not just 4 hours, right? It's 6, 7. It's a whole day. So anyway, my brother and I in particular made the decision that mom had to go back to England, where she had a home, and where she would be closer to family. And I traveled from Arizona to move my mom. So I think we did it in 10 days. I arrived, I had to pack her. I had to organize before I even got there. I had to organize the movers, everything, the boxes, what we need. So you can imagine the chaos around doing that. And I had no guidance. I didn't know who to call, didn't know where to go. I was not new to America, but I was new to Florida. I didn't know that area. So figuring all of that out was a nightmare. It was very stressful. And I say it was stressful for me, traumatic for my mom, because we were having to uproot her. And then I wasn't even in real estate at that time. I was doing something else at the time, and I got into real estate and found myself working with older adults because of a desire to be doing something different. And it was then that I realized, oh my gosh, I have been through this, and I had no roadmap at that time. Why wouldn't I be creating? So I had my 10-step process that I used in real estate. And that's what helped me get my clients through that process. And now I have the blueprint, which is a lot more than 10 steps. It is all the things that you really need to consider. Some things like legal, the financials, the where will you live, the selling of the house, if you're not even living in a house that needs to be sold, how do you move from that rental to the next place? Do you move into assisted living? How do we decide whether we do move into assisted living or not? Can we afford it? So there's a million questions, but somehow I've been able to consolidate it into this blueprint, and that is available as a guide to help me through.
So I would buy that blueprint in a second. Okay. That sounds amazing. And I also want to say, it sounds like your mom is or was very, very compassionate, just like you. That's where you get it from, right?
For sure.
She moved to Florida to take care of her mom, and that showed you something. And you have this journey through your experiences, but yours always comes from such compassion and care for people as well. So I just heard that in your discussion of your mom, and I know you, and so I think that's a wonderful attribute to inherit. That is for sure, is care and compassion. I love that you are also creating resources for other people and services for other people to help them in this process. And absolutely, I am interested. I need it. I think we all need it. It's very challenging and stressful. And oh my goodness, the world needs more help on this journey.
Yeah.
And none of us can really do it full time. I mean, this is the thing, right? We have either our children, even if they're college age, recent graduates, whatever, they have lives, we want to see them. We have our houses to manage, maybe our marriages, our jobs. And oh, by the way, in-laws and parents, I mean, it can be suffocating in moments because it's so stressful and you want to make the right decisions. So I love that you've created a resource, and I would love to see it. So thank you.
Well, you definitely will. And you kind of segued nicely into the next question. A couple more questions for you. So one of them is, so throughout this journey that you've been on so far, which has not ended, by far has it ended, but at least we're at a space where, okay, Mum's closer, I can breathe a little bit now. What is the thing that keeps you grounded throughout this?
Yes. Oh, there's lots of things. First of all, I think it's about community, whether that's your spouse or your friends. You've got to stay connected because you need the support, and they probably do too.
Yeah.
So not letting your relationships fall to the side when you're managing parents, because you need that insight and connection. The other part of that for me is moving my body, whether that's the gym, walking my dogs, nature, biking, hiking, all of the things that I, enjoy doing. It's getting out there and making that happen, scheduling that self-care to move my body, because ultimately I know at some point I will become my parents and need, right? Whatever that looks like. Like today it's okay. But, right, we're all aging here. We're all going to need help. And our bodies, from the amount of sitting and computer work, probably is in need of movement. And so I find that having that time scheduled and committed to does a lot for me, not only just physically, but psychologically, so that I can manage the trying times better.
Yeah, very nice. I went to a conference the other day with Aging in Atlanta. They do this event for our older adults, and just getting information and just hearing it so specifically is, today, your best medicine is movement. Today, your best medicine, no matter what age you are, but certainly the older you get, keep moving, because that's what's going to keep you younger and able than anything else.
Yes. I mean, I've really taken to hiking and weightlifting like never before. Just being able to push my body a little bit, because I realize, like, every few years I've got more aches and pains.
Yeah.
Like it's coming. It's natural. The body gets old. It starts to break down. So let's do what I can and enjoy it in the process. So, we're going to have our own physical challenges, and I hope to delay that as much as possible.
Absolutely. I'm 100% with you on that. Yeah. Okay, one more question.
All right.
So give me one Gen X hack for juggling it all.
All right. So we talked about like the gym and all of those things. This one is going to be a little different. I think the hack to managing the parents is to help inspire them a little bit. And what I mean by that is, I think as we age, we can get very set in our ways. I like what I want it my way. I'm used to this. It's not the way we always did it. Like, we get a little more rigid as we age. And I think it's kind of our job to present optimism, new ideas for doing things and how to do it. Maybe different places to go, things to see, different things to see on television, all of those, and combined with some new conversation, right? And so I try to have different relationships with my parents than even my in-laws, than what it looked like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years ago.
Okay.
So, their social world has shrunk a bit. And I think it's our job to help them start to see different ways of our window to the world, different ideas, different maybe places to go, things to try to eat. I think that keeps them on their toes a little bit, them feeling more alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if it's every day is the same, I think the depression sits in, the Alzheimer gets worse, all of that we're all trying to fight dementia. And so, right, I think when we introduce new things, like I introduced podcasting to my dad, had no clue what listening to a podcast was, right? I got him on Facebook only so he could find groups, right, and see what that is. I even saw my grandfather, who passed away not that long ago, into his 90s, and we were able to communicate on Facebook. I taught him how to do that, and that opened up his world a bit. And so any way where we can kind of get them exposed to things that aren't the same old, and they can have some fun with it, I think that's important. And I would want someone to do that for me, right? I don't know what it'll look like technology-wise or socially-wise, but, I just think there's always things that are changing and new ways to look at things and things to go do. Show them a new path that intrigues them and gets that brain clicking and keeps them happy.
I love that hack. I love the whole idea of introducing them to something new, having conversations about things you don't know whether they like or not even, but at least just introducing them to a new idea. My mom and I, we have this thing about food. She thinks she eats healthy. My mom will drink fruit juice. I'll talk to my mom about, oh, Mom, the other day I found coconut water. It's a lot better for you. It's a nourishing juice. It doesn't taste like much. If you don't like coconut, of course, you're not going to drink it, but my mom loves coconut. And here's the weirdest thing. I will say to her, Bruce and I, my husband, we don't drink fruit juice. And she's like, oh, you don't? Whenever I introduce my husband's name into the discussion, it's like, oh, suddenly Dr. Walker has spoken.
Thank you. Yes.
What? So that's my hack, is I'll have conversations with her and I'll introduce Dr. Walker. We call him Dr. Walker sometimes, my mum and I, because if she has anything going on, she's like, so what does Bruce think?
Yes.
He's not a doctor.
Yes.
So I love this idea of introducing new things, new ideas, being optimistic in order to help our parents or our older loved ones to revive, just to have new things introduced to them, because they don't necessarily have the access for it, but you can create the access for them. Oh my gosh, this has been such a good conversation. And of course, we could go on for ages. You've definitely touched on some things that I know will be valuable for somebody listening. Kristen, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And that wraps up another insightful episode of Let's Talk Real Estate for Older Adults. I hope you found today's discussion as enlightening and inspiring as our team did. Remember, every transition is a new beginning, and we're here to provide information for you along the journey of downsizing, relocating, or aging in place. If today's conversation got you thinking about your own unique situation, I'd love to chat, so book a call with me, and let's figure out the best steps for your next chapter. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe and join our community so you never miss an episode. If you have questions or ideas for a future topic, please reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, I'm Hilary Walker, CEO of Atlanta Seniors Real Estate, signing off. Stay safe, stay positive. Your forever home could be just around the corner. And remember our philosophy? Real estate is more than property. It's about the people.